His Divine Grace Srila Bhaichana Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Sripad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Shri Ashtadhara Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Samaveda Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Canto 3, Chapter 27. Text 27. Yadaivam adhyatma rata kalena bahujanmana sarvatra jata vairagya abrahma bhuvanan muni. Yadaivam adhyatma rata kalena bahujanmana sarvatra jata vairagya abrahma bhuvanan muni. Yadaivam adhyatma rata kalena bahujanmana sarvatra jata vairagya abrahma bhuvanan muni. Yadaiva adhyatma rata kalena bahujanmana sarvatra jata vairagya muni. Rata Mataji's. Okay, please repeat. Hare Krishna. Sounds like, doesn't sound very good. Oh, there we go. Hare Krishna. Plus my voice is, because I'm always giving class after 12 hours. It's just how it is. Okay, please repeat. Yada, when, evam, thus, adhyatmarata, engaged in self-realization, kalena, for many years, bahujanmana, many births, sarvatra, everywhere, jata vairagya, detachment is born, abrahma bhuvanat, up to Brahmaloka, muni, a thoughtful person. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. When a person thus engages in devotional service and self-realization for many, many years and births, he becomes completely reluctant to enjoy any one of the material planets, even up to the highest planet, which is known as Brahmaloka. He becomes fully developed in consciousness. Okay. Purport. Anyone engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as a devotee. But there is a distinction between pure devotees and mixed devotees. A mixed devotee engages in devotional service for the spiritual benefit of being eternally engaged in the transcendental abode of the Lord in full bliss and knowledge. I'm going to read that one more time. A mixed devotee engages in devotional service for the spiritual benefit of being eternally engaged in the transcendental abode of the Lord in full bliss and knowledge. Not a pure devotee, a mixed devotee. In material existence, when a devotee is not completely purified, he expects material benefit from the Lord in the form of relief from material miseries, or he wants material gain. Advancement in knowledge of the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity, or knowledge as to the real nature of the Supreme Lord. This is a devotee who's not completely purified. Okay? Just a reminder. When a person is transcendental to these conditions, he is called a pure devotee. What conditions? Conditions of knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His real nature, and the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity, and wanting to advance in that knowledge. When you transcend that, he's called a pure devotee. He does not engage himself in the service of the Lord for any material benefit or for understanding of the Supreme Lord. His one interest is that he loves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he spontaneously engages in satisfying Him. The highest example of pure devotional service is that of the gopis in Vrindavan. They are not interested in understanding Krishna, but only in loving Him. That platform of love is the pure state of devotional service. Unless one is advanced to this pure state of devotional service, there is no tendency to desire elevation to a higher material position. A mixed devotee may desire to enjoy a comfortable life on another planet with a greater span of life, such as on Brahmaloka. These are material desires. But because a mixed devotee engages in the service of the Lord, ultimately, after many, many lives of material enjoyment, he undoubtedly develops Krishna consciousness. And the system of this Krishna consciousness is that he is no longer interested in any sort of material elevated life. He does not even aspire to become a personality like Lord Brahma. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovrishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitanscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, this is quite a purport. Prabhupada is speaking about mixed devotional service and pure devotional service. And he's spelling out the distinction between the two. It's quite far out, actually. A mixed devotee engages in devotional service for the spiritual benefit of being eternally engaged in the transcendental abode of the Lord in full bliss and knowledge. Seems like a good aspiration, right? No, it's not. Not according to Prabhupada. There are many activities in this world, and anything that's done, generally there's a reason behind it. There's a purpose behind anything that anyone does, right? There's a sadhya, goal, and there's a sadhana, the means to get to the goal. So you have the yoga ladder. Krishna goes through it right in the Bhagavad Gita. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, ultimately bhakti yoga. If the word yoga is there, then it's actually related to bhakti. Because yoga means to connect. Yoga means to connect to Krishna. You can do all the asanas, you can do whatever is out there. But if you're not connecting to Krishna, then it's not yoga. So in the Jaiva Dharma by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it's explained there how karma yoga, for example, is a fruit of activity, right? You do some pious activities and you gain happiness from it. You gain some material enjoyment. You can go to the heavenly planets. You perform austerity. In the line of karma yoga, brahmacharis would be very austere. They would, eat off the floor and sleep very less and super austere. But why are they doing it? Because they have the higher or lower intelligence to understand that in this material world, the enjoyment is not so high. So why waste my time enjoying in this world when I can go to a higher planetary system and enjoy there? There's a lecture where Prabhupada says, if you eat a gulab jamun here in the material world, you get the result of enjoying one gulab jamun. But if you eat a gulab jamun in the heavenly planets, then one gulab jamun would give you the same satisfaction of 100,000 gulab jamuns. So don't eat a gulab jamun here, just wait, be austere, renounce yourself from gulab jamuns, and then you can eat one and derive the benefit of 100,000. Right? So karma is kind of like that. If you're on that path, you perform austerities because you know the enjoyment is much better. Right? Jnana yoga is one step higher even. They perform their study of Shastra, of internalizing knowledge to understand that they're not this body. That's also much more valuable than just enjoying in a heavenly planet. Understanding that we're not these bodies, even if we go to a higher heavenly planet and become a demigod, that's still not you. You're a spirit soul. So they have this understanding that I'm not this body. Right? And their goal is to achieve liberation, is to be freed from all these external identifications, really. So that's also very good. And then there's Ashtanga Yoga, which is, if you do that, all the asanas and meditating, and does anyone remember what the 8 steps are? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Samadhi. Pratyahara, Dhyana. Anyway. Okay, whatever it is. 8 steps, right? 8 steps. Yama, Niyama, following rules and regulations. Actually, if you want to do Ashtanga Yoga, there has to first be celibacy. Celibacy, without that, you cannot perform Ashtanga Yoga. They have, out there, yoga for sex. It's like the complete opposite of the purpose of that. What is it? Dharana. Dharana means? You're thinking you don't know. Okay. Anyway, it takes you to the point of samadhi. Samadhi to what? To the Paramatma, to the Lord within your heart. And that's a little bit higher than liberation, because you're realizing the Lord within your heart. Generally, 2 things happen when you achieve perfection in Ashtanga Yoga. You either think that, oh, the Lord is in my heart, and I should worship Him, I should serve Him. And then your bhakti yoga begins. Or, and in an unfortunate instance, you see the Lord within your heart and you think, oh, that's me, I am the Lord. This is me, I am the Supreme Person. So you see all these yogas have a means and a goal, and they're different. When you get to bhakti yoga, the sadhya and the sadhana, the means and the goal, they begin to merge. They begin to become one. Because when you engage in devotional service, it is not about you anymore. you know? This is what Prabhupada is speaking here. It's selfish. A mixed devotee engages in devotional service for the spiritual benefit. Benefit. He's doing it for his own benefit. The jiva's constitutional nature is to live for the benefit of others. It's not to live for your own personal benefit. Ayana Prabhu used to say, you can't live in Vrindavan if you're coming here for your own spiritual benefit. Prabhupada said, 3 days in Vrindavan, and then you go back. You know? But if you're living for the benefit of others, then we can extend the 3 days. Brajabasi means living for the benefit of others. Prabhupada is very nicely explaining in this purport what a Brajabasi is. And he even says it directly, right? The highest example of pure devotional service is that of the gopis in Vrindavan. In material existence, when a devotee is not completely purified, he expects material benefit from the Lord in the form of relief from material miseries. When you begin devotional service, bhakti has stages, it's not, everything's not one, there's different stages according to the nectar of devotion. What does it say? There are 3 types of bhakti. Sadhana bhakti, bhav bhakti, and prema bhakti. And they all have characteristics. Sadhana bhakti, when you first begin the process of devotional service, the first thing that happens is kleshagni, bhava maha davagni nirvapanam. That's the first thing that happens. We've been in this fire of material existence since time immemorial. We've just become numb, when you're in a very stressful condition, sometimes it's just like a coping mechanism to just think this is normal. So we've been in this stressful, strained, awkward position since time immemorial. So we're just like, this is life. And then you meet devotees. And then you come in contact with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. You come in contact with Harinam Sankirtan. You come in contact with Srimad Bhāgavatam. And you experience, for the first time since time immemorial, Bhava Mahadava Agni Nirvapanam, the fire of material existence extinguishing. Every morning we sing Tranarya Karunya Ghana Ghanatvam. The spiritual master is like a rain cloud. And he comes and he, showers his mercy on you. And the fire of material existence dissipates. And for the first time you experience, what is this? Is this a possibility to live in this state? To not be suffering? Kleshagni. But that's not pure devotional service. That's still selfish. You're still thinking of yourself. But it's okay. You're getting there. Sadhana bhakti. And then as you engage in sadhana bhakti, auspiciousness arises. Subhada. Everything becomes auspicious. Everything falls in place. Have you noticed that? When you perform devotional service, everything just seems to just fall in place perfectly. You meet the right people just say the right things to you. And it's just like, what's going on? It's always auspicious. Even that's not pure devotional service. You're still just a practicing devotee. Then you come to Bhav Bhakti. Now we're speaking something. And when you come to Bhav Bhakti, the desire for liberation, the desire for being peaceful and not suffering, it goes away. What is it? Moksha Laguta Krit. Moksha Laguta Krit becomes, moksha means liberation. Laghu, Guru means heavy. Laghu means light. And Krit means pleasure. So the pleasure derived from moksha becomes very laghu, very light. You don't care for it anymore. All you care about is seeing the face of Gopala Balam. Right? We sang that for the whole Kartik Mas. That my desire for liberation is nothing. I just want to see your smiling face. This is still not pure devotional service. But it's pretty good. If you're getting here, you're getting somewhere pretty good. It's very rare. Bhav Bhakti is very rarely achieved in this material world. According to Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this material body, it can only facilitate till Bhav. If you go any further, you'll practically explode. Yeah, the body can't handle that, Bhav Ankur, it's a Prem Ankur. It's a sprout of prema. So the creeper of devotional service is described, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, so on and so forth, going all the way to Bhav. And Bhav is like a bud, like a flower bud. And then as you further progress, it becomes slightly opened. And when it slightly opens, then the fragrance from that bud comes. And Bhav turns into it opens fully, turns into the flower and the fruit of prema. And then Krishna plucks that fruit and eats it. Prema Bhakti. Mokshalabdha Krit Sudurlabha. Prema Bhakti, when you come to Prema Bhakti, Sandarananda Visheshatma. Now you experience a condensed version of bliss. You have to boil the milk. Boil the bliss. But this bliss is not derived from alleviation of material suffering. This bliss is not derived from being happy. This bliss is ashlishya vapadaratam pinashtumam adarshanan marmahatam karotuva yatha tatha va vidadhatu lampato mat prananatastu saivanapara. This bliss is derived from Krishna. If you're happy, I'm happy. When our desires become aligned with Krishna, try and understand, it's not very hard to understand. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Okay? He's the supreme enjoyer. If your desires become aligned with His, you're enjoying just as much as Him. He wants to share. Enjoyment is not something that's done alone, There might be something nice to eat, for example, You can go to some corner and steal some prasad and eat it all on your own and hopefully no one catches you. That might be enjoyable. But you know what's more enjoyable? If you have a friend and you're both doing it together. If you're stealing prasad together. So Krishna is like that also. He's the supreme enjoyer. So He wants the highest level of enjoyment. And He's quite extreme. So extreme that His highest level of enjoyment is the Rasa Leela. He's secretly enjoying the wives of 3 billion others. So when our desires become aligned with Krishna, then Sandrananda Vishesh Atma, your soul becomes condensed with Ananda, Sandarananda. And that bliss of Krishna consciousness, which is not material anymore, it's not based on what I want. It's based on what Krishna wants. Krishna, you're happy, I'm happy. If my sadness is your happiness, then my sadness is my happiness. Selflessness. And this selfless attitude, it's so funny, you know what it does? It defeats Krishna, the undefeatable. Jita Jita. And what's the last quality? This is Prema Bhakti now, what we're talking about. Shri Krishna Akarshani. Krishna means all attractive. That the Sanskrit is very, what's the word? When a word sounds like the thing. Yeah, onomatopoeia. Sanskrit is like that, you know. So if you go to the public library, you know the big one in Bryant Park. There's a huge public library. It's very big, and I went in there a few weeks ago. As soon as you enter, like the main entrance in the front, there's a little door that says treasures. That's what it says. Actually, I never thought of that. It says treasures, and it's like a little exhibition with all kinds of old things, like I don't know, like there's a little Quran this big, the size of a leaf, and it's written so small that you need a magnifying glass to read it. I don't know why they even did that. Anyway, there's all kinds of like bizarre things, and I went in there and I was just like walking around. You know what I saw? There's a picture of Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill. Yeah, and it's right in the middle. Right in the middle, bang, in the public library. If you have some time, you can go and find that picture. He's there and he's lifting, and it's from like the 1800s or something. Someone painted this, Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill. I guess you can do parikram of that public library and do a Govardhan parikram. That's a very special place, by the way. Bryant Park, Prabhupada went for walks there. And Ayendra Prabhu would set up, there's a building there that it like curves out and it says grace on the building. Ayendra Prabhu would set up his truck right there and do kirtan. And on New Year's Eve, we did a kirtan right there actually. We sat right there and that was very powerful. This place is very powerful. Prabhupada started the movement here and you can feel it. You can feel it. Anywhere a pure devotee steps his foot, he lays foundation for you to achieve all perfection, you know. Simply by him just walking around here, it's enough. It's enough for you to get what you need. So anyway, that painting, it's, some reason he's not lifting it with his little finger, he is lifting it with his whole hand, his left hand. And Govardhan is like, looks like a wave. Have you seen it? Have you seen it? No, you haven't. Yeah, I did. I found Govardhan in New York. There. So in that painting is like a picture of Krishna, and on top of Krishna, it's written in Sanskrit, Krish. Just Krish. No na, just Krish. And then there's Nanda Maharaj, and on top of Nanda Maharaj it says Nand. And then there's Indra on top, and it just says Indra. Like, you know, if you can read Devanagari. So Krish, that word, it actually even refers to agriculture. Isn't that funny? Because if you take a plow and if you dig into the ground and you pull, it'll make that sound. Krish. You know, like. So it means to pull in, to, you know, attract. That's what the word means, Krish. So Krishna and Na can refer to Ananda. So pulling everyone in, all attractive. So he's doing that. He's the supreme doer of that. But Prema Bhakti can do that to him. He's doing it to the whole world, the whole universe. But Prema Bhakti, Shri Krishna Akarshani. You know, you've been doing it long enough. Our turn. Prema Bhakti is the most supremely powerful thing that exists in all of existence. It attracts the all-attractive. And this is the prerogative of the residents of Vrindavan. How did they do that? How did they do that? By being selfless, by being completely selfless. It's very attractive. It's funny, right? You'd think that I have to be worried about myself and I have to be something to attract. But it's the other way around. You know? If you want to control someone, you don't have to lord over them. That's material consciousness. To think that I just have to control them. All you have to do is love them. Bang, full control. You have complete control when you love someone. When you trust someone. We trust Srila Prabhupada with our lives. Whatever he says, we'll do. Because it's based on complete trust. And where does that trust come from? It comes from us knowing that he's selfless. That he's not going to exploit us in any way for his own personal purposes. He's completely giving himself entirely. And in reciprocation to that, we naturally give ourselves. We have such a good deal actually, this Krishna consciousness, Pretty good deal. We're tiny, insignificant particles, right? We only have so much of a limited offering, right? Very small. But if you do that, if I do that to some mortal entity, if we do it to each other, it's nice giving ourselves to each other. It's, selfless. What do you get in return? You'll get the other person in return. He'll give himself. But that person is also limited. You give yourself to Krishna entirely, 100%. He, being unlimited, becomes bewildered because he cannot reciprocate with you. Being unlimited, as much as he gives himself to you, he's still unlimited. We're limited. We give ourselves 100%, but finish. There's no more of me, Krishna. That's all of it. Right? He cannot reciprocate to that. He becomes defeated. Because he's unlimited. And that is why, what does he say? Na pareham. He says that to the gopis. The gopis have done that. They've defeated him entirely. They give themselves to Krishna, and he doesn't know what to do anymore. Because as much as he gives himself, there's still unlimited more of him left. What is that? What is that verse from Ishopanishad? Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Agachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Right? He's unlimited. You take from him, he's still unlimited. So he fully gives himself to Mother Yashoda. But there's still a unlimited self of his to give himself to Nanda Maharaj. And there's still a whole unlimited self of his to give himself to every other resident, every other individual. The material world is full of suffering. And, you can try to solve some problems. When you solve a problem, you give yourself into it, right? You give yourself. You give time, effort. Your consciousness goes into solving some problem. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada was sitting on a large podium with many, many persons, and he made a very bold statement. He said that the material world has unlimited problems. Is a myriad. Myriad? Is that how you say that word? Myriad. Myriad of problems. That's the word he used. Right? And he said, you can spend your time solving them individually. Kaler dosha nidhe rajan. It is an ocean. Just as many waves there are in the ocean, that many problems there are in Kali Yuga. Even if you solve one problem, there's unlimited other problems. So he said, forget it. Forget all these problems. Boldly preach the message of Rupa and Raghunath. Boldly preach the message of unalloyed, uninterrupted, pure devotional service. This is the only solution to all problems. Give yourself to Krishna. Krishna gives his unlimited self to you, and his unlimited self can solve all the problems. You cannot. You cannot separately do that. So he says to the gopis, what does he say? Na pareham. I cannot reciprocate with you because you've given your entire self to me. I cannot reciprocate. So my reciprocation with you, seems like a bit of a cop-out actually, is the devotional service that you're doing and the bliss that you're enjoying from it. That is my reciprocation. This is why in the process of bhakti, the sadhana and the sadhya are the same. There is no other end result. When you have an end result, it means it has an end. Bhakti has no end because it has no end result. It's an ongoing, eternal process of unlimitedly loving Krishna. A relationship, a reciprocal relationship that has no end. So we learn this from the residents of Vrindavan. Prabhupada has said in Nectar of Devotion that as one advances in devotional service, one has to follow one of the residents of Vrindavan on the higher stages of bhakti. So Prabhupada was asked, who is this resident of Vrindavan that we have to follow? And you know what Prabhupada said? He said, I am that resident of Vrindavan that you follow. Yeah. We have 10 minutes. I want to open up the floor. Mataji has a question.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the nice class. I wanted to add something. You said you went to the library and you saw this Govardhan, and it was in a treasure.
Yeah, that's what it's called, treasures.
Actually, it's funny because if you actually went there and you would go to the, I believe it even called treasure department or something, archives or something, they have original book by Srila Prabhupada, signed by Srila Prabhupada, Nectar of Devotion. Have you seen it?
No.
You have to bring it up, like you have to ask them.
Oh, you have to ask them.
And you're not supposed to borrow it or anything. That's why you can just see it over there. Yeah,
Wow.
I was just doing that pictures a few years ago for Gadambakanda Maharaj. And I found it over there, but they wouldn't let me borrow it.
Oh.
Wouldn't return. But
You saw the sign?
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's big, like original, how they used to publish. So yeah, they always way to go deeper in things. And something I wanted to ask about the stages, the Bhava Bhakti and Prem Bhakti. I was thinking about Narottam Das Thakur when, I don't know if he can be a good example for this. I mean, I'm sure he can. Because it says when he got this actual prema, right, from the Padmavati river, his body changed. Like the color even changed. Like, the complexion changed. Can it be like a good example? Can you
Yes.
about this?
It's perfect. His body is not material anymore. You cannot hold. It was never material, but they come as an example. No, these acharyas, one who teaches by example. Yeah, when he achieved prema, the body is not material anymore. Yeah, very nice example. Narottam Das Thakur. His body, even when he left, his samadhi, there's his samadhi in Vrindavan, but his body's not there, his body turned into milk. Dudh samadhi. Yeah, really. And you know how it was? They were just washing him, and he was just turning into milk. So he didn't have a material body anymore. And I don't know, none of us turn into milk when we leave our bodies, you know.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for the class. Interesting, the comment that you made at the end about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's statement, that we should ignore all these problems. There's so many problems, a myriad of problems, and we should instead boldly preach the message of Rupa Raghunath. So it's interesting, why you say we should preach the message of Rupa and Raghunath? What does it mean to preach the message? Why should we preach it instead of realize it? Instead he said you should realize the devotion of Rupa and Raghunath. He said you should preach boldly. But he's saying that to people who clearly don't have that devotion. So what do we? So what's
what a personality, no? Yeah.
Like, I don't have the devotion of Rupa Raghunath. So what am I supposed to preach? Why preach? What does that mean?
Well, like I said, you know, you can steal prasadam on your own, or you can steal prasadam with someone else. So as you taste it, if you're not preaching it, that means you're not tasting it. Something's going wrong. If you're not preaching, that means you're not tasting, because it just doesn't work like that, you know. And Brajavasi means to live for the benefit of others. We're not doing it. We're not doing it to solve the problems of this material world so I can be happy. That's not why we're doing it. We're trying to alleviate the suffering of others. And even that, why do we do that? We're not the savior of this world. Why are you so worried about all these people? Just, you know, mind your own business and go back home, back to Godhead, right? Right? But that's how you mind your own business, because your business is to live for the benefit of others. And that's how you get attention from Krishna. There's a thing, it's called Bhav Ullas Rati. Okay? Rupa Goswami mentions it. And it's very interesting. It's in Ujjvala Nilamani. It's described what that is. What Bhav Ullas Rati is when you have affection for someone other than Krishna. And the example cited there, what it says is, Krishna was embracing Radharani, okay? And behind Krishna was standing Lalita Sakhi. She was standing there. And from hard labor of serving, grinding Chandra and fanning, whatever, you know, she had drops of perspiration all over her face, which made her look like a crystal, shining under the light. And Radharani, so you understand it, right? Krishna is here, Radharani is here, and Lalita Sakhi is behind. So Radharani is facing Lalita Sakhi. Radharani then forgets about Krishna and begins to wipe Lalita Sakhi's perspiration from her face. How sweet, right? And Krishna, observing Radharani caring for Lalita Sakhi like this, becomes unlimitedly more attached to her. So, Bhav Ullas Rati means it's going to Lalita Sakhi. The devotion is going to Lalita Sakhi. But actually it's going to Krishna. Because Krishna is becoming even more attracted. Preaching is this. Preaching is getting Krishna's attention with the help of others. Sankirtan. Sankirtan means a louder voice. It's kind of selfish also. You know, if you think about it, I want to get noticed by him. So I'm going to tell all of these guys about him. It's supreme selfishness and selflessness combined. Yeah, simultaneously one and different. So without preaching, you can go approach Krishna yourself. You know, that he would reciprocate with you. But, you know, you can just go and approach every other living entity and tell them to approach Krishna. Krishna will notice you. Don't try to see Krishna. Act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. Yeah, if you're not preaching, preaching is the mood of Radharani. She began this preaching movement by expanding as her Kaya Vyuha. We spoke about it last time. from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaya Vyuha. That's the preaching movement, you know. Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to add a cherry on top of that.
Please.
I heard a nice comment by Yashoda Dalal Prabhu when he was here, and he said that Radharani's mercy is infinite, which means that this material, that means there has to be infinitely amounts of lower places for that mercy to reach. And so, us being a part of this Gaudiya Madhva Brahma Sampradaya, especially the specific Sampradaya connected with Srila Prabhupada, we have so many acharyas that are nityasiddhas, and they're embodiments of that compassion and mercy of Srimati Radharani. So yeah, as you're saying, it's like we're actually, that mercy is expanding to also relieve Krishna's anxiety. It's not like we're doing these things to like, oh, I'm saving you, you know. It's actually, we're bringing that person there because it's, first, of course, it's their natural position, but it's also alleviating Krishna's anxiety, and it's pleasing Srimati Radharani, which is also expansion of Guru is also expansion of Srimati Radharani. So I thought I'd just...
You know, we did this kirtan, right, on the 31st. Were you there? No, you missed out. Anyway, it'll happen one day again. And we had these people, like just people on the street. There was this little girl chanting Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe. That was really funny. But we had many people, and they were raising their right hand up in the air like this. So many of them. Just right hand up in the air. And dancing. And when I was seeing that, observing that, so many of them, like a lot of them, yeah, like that. There was one guy who was just standing like this. And I was like, what's going on here? You know? And then it reminded me of another quote from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. I think I said this once before, but repetition of a good thing is a good thing, so no problem. Devotees went to London to preach, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told them, it's in a letter, he told them that you will meet drunkards, womenizers, gamblers, intoxicators, you know? You meet all these persons who apparently seem materialistic in every way, but they're actually particles of dust from the lotus feet of Nitai, who have come to you to give you an opportunity to speak about Krishna. So these persons that are out there, all of them raising their right hand, looking like Nitai next to Sachi Sutta and Vrindavan, who are they really, you know? What is the vision of a pure devotee? Oh, these fallen, conditioned souls, I'm going to save you. I'm out here, the Messiah. No, that's not what we are. You know, they're going to save us. They're our means to gain Krishna's favorable glance. If you have that consciousness, Krishna's looking at you. Nitai is looking at you. Nitai is smiling. All right, it's 9 o'clock. If there's no more questions or comments, we'll end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
His Grace Pavan Nitai Chandra Prabhu
Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai.